Hello everybody, hope y'all are doing good out there. Thank you for joining me in this video for another New Again knife review. This knife that we are going to look at today, in my opinion, has probably the coolest looking clip point blade that I have ever seen on a knife without any exceptions. We can debate whether it's the most practical, but in my mind it looks just about the coolest. Y'all will remember that the other day I showed this knife right here, this Joker knife. And I said in that video that I ordered two of them. Well, this is one, and this is the other one. Now, I've done a few shorts showing this one off, and I've made a few videos on it. I plan to make more. But in this video, we're going to be taking a look at this one. This one is similar in some ways, but it's very different in other ways. So let's take a look at this in this video, and I want to show you what this knife's like. First thing, you can see the box. And the box is fine, just a normal box. Good storage box, though. I know Rusty Miner has talked about the importance in the shape of a box and storing the boxes if you're going to have a lot of knives. If you all haven't watched him, go check out Rusty Miner. You can see here the brand name is Joker, and it says designed and handcrafted in Spain. Handcrafted sporting cutlery. This is the model N105B. Joker needs to give these knives some names instead of just some numbers. That way it'll stick with us a little better. Now, I have had this knife out, and I have sharpened this knife up. There it is. What do y'all think? Well, the initial impression is probably a little different from the lasting impression. At least it was with me. When I first saw it on the internet, I thought, that looks really neat. And when I first pulled it out, I thought, oh, it's kind of weird. But the more I've carried it and messed around with it, the more I've grown to like it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take a measurement and we're going to weigh it and see what it weighs. From the very tip of the handle to the other end, it's right at 5 inches closed. And weight-wise, this is going to be interesting to consider here in a little bit, how much this knife weighs. Weight-wise, this knife comes in at 2.95 ounces. 2.95 ounces. When we compare some other knives, we're going to notice that that's really lightweight for the size of this knife. Now, one thing that kept throwing me off when I was looking at this knife was the size of it. When I looked at it, I didn't figure that it was all too big. I guess I was figuring in my mind that overall length would be maybe somewhere between the size of a trapper and a sodbuster. But with a 5-inch handle, as you can see, this is a lot larger knife than a trapper. A trapper is only 4 1/8. Even a case sodbuster is 4 5/8, the full-size sodbuster. So this one is a large knife. Let me lay it right beside a full-size case 38 pattern sodbuster there. You can see there that it's even larger than the sodbuster. It's a big knife. But the handle is skinny. So let's take a look at this knife here. First off, what color are these handles? It depends on the light you're in. I thought they were white when I first got them, but the more I look at them, I'm beginning to wonder if they're not a yellow, because they look very close to some of my case yellows. And if I compare it to a white knife from case, for instance, you can see it's not really white. It's either a cream color or a yellow color. But either way, it looks good. Now, they call this metal Zamak. Z-A-M-A-K, I believe is how they spelled it. I think it's a form of pot metal, honestly. But you can see it's very ornate in its design. You've got this nice little bulb right there for something. And it's just all designed up, which I don't mind. It makes it kind of unique, makes it kind of neat. That's one trait of case knives. Case knives will have a nice jigging on them, but for the most part, they're kind of simple looking. This one does not look simple, but then again, you're dealing with traditional knives from Europe. It's going to be different from knives from America. But you can see all this design on here. Here in a minute, I'm going to talk about the build quality. First off, though, notice here, we've got this brass pin. I like the way that brass pin is on there. You will be able to tighten that brass pin very easily. Here you can see down in where the blade goes. So let's open this knife up. First off, I want to say it has an amazing half stop. And I mean, it's got an amazing half stop. Got a stiff spring and an amazing half stop. Let me try to get this so I can. There you go. You can see it's got a great spring on it. So here's the blade on this knife. See if I can get this camera to focus. It looks to me like it has a basic saber grind. It might be some slight hollow grind down in here closer to the edge. But you can see there it says Joker, stainless steel, Spain. Here you can see the thickness. It's got a good thick blade on it, but not too thick. I love the way that this blade looks. Look at how this edge curves up to the tip. That's really neat. Also, notice how we got this point right at the top here by Joker, and then we've got this curve that comes around. That's very neat looking. It almost looks like the swords they always make out like the pirates had, but it's just a really, really cool looking blade. Here in a minute, we're going to talk about the sturdiness, because this knife, I had worried that this knife might be a gimmick. You know, it's something that looks very neat, that's very interesting, but something that wasn't actually useful. But I have not found that to be the case at all. Now, let's talk about price for a minute. This little knife right here was $13, and that was shipped to the door through Amazon. Now, $14 shipped to the door after tax is excellent. I mean, you can't hardly beat that. This knife, build-wise, is excellent. Whether you like the personal look of it or not, that's another matter. Preference is always interesting. But as for quality, for the price, this thing is excellent. There's certain things about this that make me think that this is going to be a very sturdy knife. First off, you got this nice thick blade stock. Second off, you've got this brass pin. This brass pin is going to be easy to adjust. If you really use this knife a lot over the years and the pivot loosens up, you can lay one side of this on an anvil or something hard and take a punch and tap this other side, and you will tighten that blade right up. And so this knife will be easy to keep tight. Another thing that makes this knife really strong is the construction. When we look at most slip joints, it doesn't matter whether it's a Swiss Army knife or whether it's a more traditional knife like a case. You'll notice here you've got nickel-silver bolster. Then you've got your brass liners. Then you got your springs. And all this is sandwiched together. And it's held in by pins. If we look at this one, look at the tail here. And I think that's what that is. That's a tail. That's all one piece. See that? That's all cast as one piece. So this knife is not multiple layers sandwiched together, as much as it is one full-size cast piece, which means that there's less chance of it separating. And then, of course, you do have this pin up here holding it together and holding that blade in good and tight. Where this really shows is on the back here. This is not the back spring. The back spring actually sets down inside of the knife. Can you see the back spring right here? And you'll notice this metal goes under that back spring, which, again, I think that's just going to make this thing extra strong if you're going to use it for hard use. And I can't get over this half stop. It's got an excellent half stop. Now, one thing I do want to say is you got to be careful when you're closing this one, because you will dull this one out when you close it if you just let it lay, because it's got a very strong spring, and as you can see, they're using every single inch, and so this is going to touch, and so you will want to let this blade down if you want the knife to stay sharp. Now that leads us to sharpness. Is this thing sharp? Well, I'll tell you, this thing, it was extremely easy to sharpen, and it gets razor sharp. All I did on this one was I just ran it over my ceramic stone a few times, my Lansky here, my 1000 grit. I don't know, I may have done it 4 or 5 times. But let me see if I can show you with this old piece of Smoky Mountain Knife Work magazine paper. See if I can show you just how sharp it is. I always struggle doing this on camera. As you can see, this thing is razor sharp. And I plan to do some videos testing the steel to see what it's like. I think it's very similar to the steel that Victorinox uses in their Swiss Army knives. But we're going to test that out someday, I believe, and see how it does. But those are a few things I've noticed about this knife. Now, this tail is kind of odd. I mean, that's kind of odd when you look at a knife like that. Now, there are a few things I do want to say about this tail on here. It does have some benefits. The first off, you're going to notice, is it allows the whole blade to sit down in here without the handle being wide and therefore heavy. Let me illustrate this the best way I know how to. This is a classic Buck 110. Great knife, of course. It's got a clip point blade, same as this one. This is a backlock knife, but we'll ignore that for the moment. But if we open up these blades, if you'll notice, it's got a larger blade than the Buck 110, but it's got kind of the same shape to it. But the width, look at the width difference here. Look how much wider the Buck is. And like I said, this one right here will come in at around 3 ounces, wasn't it? This Buck is going to be, I believe it's over 6 ounces. Let me check that real quick. You're getting a large weight difference. Okay, here's the Buck. 7.30 ounces. That's because of all the brass on the Buck. 2.95 ounces. So this Joker knife is less than half the weight of this Buck. And it's got a bigger blade on it. Super neat. But again, you may not like the design, and I completely understand that. But I think you will have to agree that it is a pretty cool looking knife. Now, the little bit I've used this has not gotten my way when I'm cutting. Because the handle's so large, it just kind of sticks out of the bottom of my hand. Now, I haven't done many cuts where I'm holding a knife and pulling it toward me. I do not think it's going to be a problem because, again, that handle is sticking out of the back of my hand. So I don't think I'll have a problem with it. But that is one problem that I could conceive might be a possibility. Let's compare it to a few other knives. We already did it to the Buck. Now let's compare it to this other Joker. This other one was the 108. This yellow one here is the 105. Let's compare these, line them up right here, if I can get this to focus. The camera's been being extra difficult lately. So you'll notice here that there's a lot of similarities in these two and a lot of differences. The biggest difference is that the 105 here on the top is wider, thicker, and more extreme. They're about the same length. The 105 has this sharp curve on the tail. The 108 does not. The 105 has a lot thicker blade than the 105. But other than that, they look very, very similar. I like both of these a lot. I don't know which one I like better. There's something really cool about this 105 though. But this one was 13 bucks. This one was 12 bucks. So I just wanted to make some videos on these and show these to y'all. These aren't, of course, as collectible and as valuable as cases, and they're probably not as well designed as a case. But let me tell you, from the little bit I've carried these would probably be great beater knives. You know, a knife that you put in your pocket when you know you're going to have to be doing some hard tasks. When you don't mind if the blade gets a little scratched up. Because, as we said, the way that these are constructed with the metal going all the way around makes the handle strong. And this brass pin makes that pin strong, and the blades look nice and sturdy. So, y'all comment down below what you think. I think these are super neat. They're not the most practical, but I do think that these are super neat. And if y'all are looking for an interesting knife, these certainly might qualify. Otherwise, you could get that little Mikov Verbicka fish knife. Or you could maybe get a Victorinox Signature. Or a Case Mini Copper Lock. Or you could do something wild. You can do something like a Leatherman Surge. I threw that Leatherman Surge in there for you. Leatherman Surge. You're all the time commenting about multi-tools. And so I threw this Leatherman Surge in there just for you. But yeah, there's lots of different cool knives out there. And in my mind, this Joker, while it may not be the most practical, is a good knife, I believe. And it's a cool knife, especially when you consider you can get it delivered to your door for under 14 bucks. Comment down below what y'all think about this. Would you carry it? Do you think you might grow to like it? Or are you going to try one? You have a good day. Thank you for watching, and keep your knives sharp.